Are we in and on? It's G from GTV. This is the Native Speakers Academy educational video vlog, educational perspectives, that is, looking at different ways we can help other people and help ourselves from the educational side of things. It's, before I forget, it's Friday the 27th of April, and it's the middle of the afternoon. I got a break between classes right now, so I'm gonna do a quick little spot here and then run off and get some work done. If you go to our websites, which are NSA Slovakia and NSA Education, you'll find lots of stories related to alternative perspectives on education. You will also find that the Education News and Resources site, which is NSA Education, puts up news stories every day that you might want to have a look at, because they can help you with your own education if you're a homeschooler, for example, or they can just give you more material that you can supplement your basic education with, and we try to cover all sides and topics and things that other people don't. So I posted an article there yesterday, 22 hours ago, according to the website, which has the title Smithsonian Own Crime Scene Investigator. Now, this is one part of a Smithsonian series of most popular videos available from Smithsonian.com. They have little clips of the programs and a little bit of information about them. And what I thought we would do is just run through their choices and make a little comment on whether or not they would be educational and worth watching, or whether or not there might be some other reason for these posts. Keep your mind open. So the title of their article at smithsonianmag.com is our most popular videos of all time. Number one is Smithsonian's Own Crime Scene Investigator. Doug Owsley has one of the most intriguing jobs at the Smithsonian. The forensic anthropologist at the National Museum of Natural History assists state and federal law enforcement agencies in identifying skeletal remains and determining causes of death. The National Museum of Natural History. Do they really need to put natural in there? I mean, it's not like it's going to be unnatural history. Can we have a museum of unnatural history, of unusual history, of out-of-place artifacts? That would probably be more cool. That would attract more people. Probably be more educational as well. Anyway, he has worked on high-profile cases, from Jeffrey Dahmer's first strike to the victims of the 9/11 Pentagon plane crash, which didn't crash into the Pentagon because there was no plane there, and all of the bodies vaporized because there were no bodies. How could you examine the remains of bodies that, according to the official story, all vaporized? Bizarre. Or not, depending on your perspective. You don't believe me? Just check out the official story. That's what they say happened. Oh, the plane hit the building and all the bodies vaporized. That's why there were no bodies. In this video, Owsley discusses some of the colonial cold cases featured in Written in Bone, forensic files of the 20th century Chesapeake, whatever that is. An exhibition at the museum through January the 6th, 2013. Unlike TV shows like Bones or CSI, which I have no idea what they are really because I don't have a TV, he says this is the real deal, when he's already claiming to be someone who's investigated something which didn't happen. Oh, we spin webs within webs, don't we? It's just ridiculous. So I just clicked to bring up number two. What did the rebel yell sound like? An exclusive clip from the 1930s where Confederate veterans step up to the mic and let out their version of the fearsome rallying cry. What did the rebel yell sound like? To most of us, perhaps, the men who fought the Civil War may seem like the inhabitants of a sort of cinematic prehistory, quaintly memorialized in Courier and Ives prints, old newspaper engravings, and the photographs of Matthew Brady. But thousands of Civil War soldiers were interviewed, recorded, and filmed up through the mid-20th century. In this remarkable clip from the 1930s, Confederate veterans, like living ghosts in the flesh, step up to the microphone and belt out their best rebel yell. Is that it? Do they just get these people screaming? They don't actually want to sit them down and talk about the ins and outs and the ups and downs of what happened. Oh dear. It adds video and audio actually from the Library of Congress, which might be worth a little bit of research there. Moving on. Part 3 is entitled Hiding in a Coconut. Scientists filmed octopuses near Indonesia using coconut shells as a tool. A first for invertebrates. We once thought that as humans, we were the only animals sophisticated enough to use tools. I've never thought that. But other mammals and birds have proven that assumption wrong. Even one clever invertebrate. See for yourself in this neat footage captured in Indonesia. Veined octopuses use coconut shells to hide. It's not really a tool, is it? I mean, like a hammer is a tool. I mean, if they took the coconut shell and bashed another octopus over the head with it, then you could kind of call it a tool, couldn't you? They would hide under anything, wouldn't they? I mean, you don't need to. Do scientists get paid for this? Do they get paid? Do scientists get paid for dropping coconut shells to the bottom of the sea and going down there and filming what octopuses do with them? Is that it? Is that the best you can come up with? Is that the leading idea amongst the leading minds of our generation? Come on, guys. That you got to come up with something better than that, because I could come up with something better than that. Not crazier, but more useful at least. Where did I stop? When they're not hiding, they're stilt walking across the ocean floor, gripping the shells with their 8 legs. Oh, just stunning. We've got children who don't have enough food or place to live, and other people crawling across the bottom of the ocean floor with cameras, giving coconut shells to invertebrates. Beyond belief. Moving on to number 4, which is, according to the Smithsonian, remembering the horrors of Auschwitz. From the moment they arrived at the concentration camp, Jews and other Holocaust victims were treated like animals. And they've got the picture here of one of the concentration camps with the I'm gonna murder the German language, but Arbeit macht frei, which I believed is that work makes you free. You can see the similarities actually between the German and the English language there. We've got makes as macht, free as frei. Work, of course, is a little bit different, but you can see the same sounds existing within the language. You can see the origin of the English language really there. So, remembering the horrors of Auschwitz, Stephen Lookert, a curator at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, describes how Auschwitz, the largest concentration camp during World War II, evolved from a prison to an execution center in just a few years. Yeah, just wheel them in and kill them off and stick them in a hole. They did that with everyone, didn't they? I mean, they did that with the Jews, they did that with other people they didn't like, they did that with the dissidents, they did it with the Indians in different countries and the native tribes. They never give up, do they? Holocaust survivors provide glimpses into what Lookout calls the process of dehumanization that prisoners at Auschwitz underwent as their possessions were confiscated, their heads shaved, arms tattooed, and they were forced to live like animals in one of the largest social experiments ever carried out by the international banking organizations and their cartels. I added that last little part there. The same people are still in charge today. If you don't believe it, go and read some of Anthony Sutton's great research. The one about the American banks funding events in Europe is quite useful, interesting, shocking, and perhaps even entertaining for the wrong reasons. So remembering the horrors, actually it's probably quite worth reminding ourselves of the problems that happened in not too recent history. Imagine all the times that happened in history before we had film and that we weren't able to capture it on film. Imagine the amount of freedom that's actually been brought to us by film, and not just propaganda, but actual real freedom. Anyway, moving on. We're on to number 5. Poaching the Venus flytrap. Researchers are able to track Venus flytrap plants that were stolen from protected areas. Oh my God, the plant police! The plant police! Oh. You can imagine someone, calling up saying, "Oh, hi, 2 of my cacti have been stolen from my front garden. Could you come and have a look at it?" Okay, yeah. If there's someone running around your back garden with a gun, spray painting things and taking your tools away, they'll probably turn up 6 weeks later. It's probably not a crime, actually. Anyway, the Venus flytrap, the carnivorous plant's habitat is restricted to a small swathe of the Carolinas and 100,000 greenhouses around the world, where it is threatened by development, the suppression of wildfires and poachers. The flytrap is threatened by poachers. Pull the other one. Watch this video to find out how experts at the Nature Conservancy, doesn't have any other organization name, are identifying flytraps in nurseries that have been stolen from preserves. They've got nothing better to do. Oh, we do create work for ourselves, don't we? Oh, the positive impacts on society. Stunning. Oh. Interesting plant. Number 6 in the Smithsonian list. The Cowboys of R.A. Brown Ranch. Donald Brown and his fellow cowboys combine modern science with their decades of experience with cattle ranching to create the perfect specimen of beef. 5th generation rancher Donald Brown of Throckmorton, Texas, is involved with cattle, as he says, from conception to consumption, from the gate to the plate. In this video, hear how he defines the perfect cow and uses modern science to achieve it, because you can't have a perfect cow without modern science, can you? Oh, they love their scientific agendas, don't they? Without science, we wouldn't have anything in a modern world. We wouldn't have people dying of cancer. We wouldn't have children dropping dead from vaccinations. Without science, we wouldn't be able not to send rockets into space. Without... And on and on and on and on and on. A couple of a dozen cowboys on Brown's crew also weigh in on what it's like living on the ranch. Well, it might be interesting from lifestyle perspective to catch that one. Continuing. Number 7 on the Smithsonian list. A rare look at Tucker cars. Collector David Kamak owns 3 of the 47 remaining cars in existence designed by Preston Tucker, which he puts on display in a secluded museum in Virginia. Only 51 sedans came off the line at the Tucker Corporation in 1948 before the company went under. Virginia-based collector owns 3. Here he dissects his prize specimen, explaining why its designer Preston Tucker billed it as the car of the future. What happened to that? There must be a bit of interesting history surrounding the Tucker Corporation. And what was his name? Preston Tucker and the Tucker Corporation. Let's do a little bit of a search here, see what we find. Preston Tucker. A couple of black and white pictures and a car that looks like a spaceship. Okay. Preston Tucker was an American automobile designer and entrepreneur. Most remembered for the Tucker sedan, known as the Tucker 48 or the Tucker Torpedo, an automobile which introduced many features that have since become widely used in modern cars. His production was shut down amidst scandal and controversial accusations of stock fraud. His life was turned into a film. Well, the films never really tell the real story. Not to worry. Early life, auto racing, the combat car. Yeah, interesting, man. Could be cool. Moving on, we move on to the Smithsonian number 8 in their top videos of all time. Food science in slow motion. Watch a piece of charcoal catch fire and see what happens when a cube of gelatin is dropped on a flat surface. I never thought the day would come when I considered Jello a thing of beauty, but I'll admit this video of a cube of gelatin hitting a surface and jiggling at crawling 6,280 frames per second gives a wondrous air of grace. It's hypnotizing. There is that beauty of using a camera, isn't there? Of being able to, as I said, record events and then being able to do other things with them, change images, slow things down, things that the eye can't see. Well, the eye doesn't see most of what happens anyway, really. Moving on. We're going to get there. We've got 3 left. Number 9 is About Face. Anna Coleman Ladd fits soldiers for masks in her studio. During World War I, sculptor Anna Coleman Ladd created masks for about 185 disfigured soldiers. That sounds disgusting, in my opinion. So that they might bear resemblance to their pre-injured selves. The footage brings Ladd to life in her American Red Cross administered studio for portrait masks in Paris, working with plaster coats, making masks of galvanized copper and fitting them to soldiers' jaws. Oh, the joys of war. So you've got all these soldiers who were disfigured in the First World War, and they're all marched into a studio where a woman tries to rebuild their faces. You know, it shouldn't get to that point. It just shouldn't get to that point where we're looking at the world from that perspective. And well, I suppose somebody had a camera there to film it, but it shouldn't get to that point. Almost there. Number 10, the sights and taste of Hanoi in Vietnam's capital city. Pour restaurants, dot the streets, and fill them with the aromas of the flavorful soup. We gave food critic Mimi Sheraton an interesting assignment: go to Hanoi, search for the ultimate po. I think it's po, P-H-O. She scoured it's probably something different. I don't speak Vietnamese. I've got no idea. She scoured the Vietnam capital, tasting different. Is this the best? Is this the best of the videos that they can present about our culture? Oh, piping hot broth and soft silky noodles and other ridiculous ideas. Is that it? Is that it? Scraping the barrel, aren't they? Scraping the barrel, that's the best they can come up with. And I've just clicked to go to the last one, and it's not there. Obviously, they don't have one. They've just got links to other things now. Well, there you go. That's it. That's what the I can't speak. That's what the Smithsonian think is interesting and that everyone should be distracting themselves with. It's painful. It's painful. You could be educating people, but no, no, no. Let's just throw spanners into the works. And they're just full of disinformation. It's wonderful. Look at this little collection of links here on the same page. Photos of fallen soldiers' bedrooms. There's something sick about that as well. 5 men who hated or loved the number 13. Ridiculous. Then they've got, did the Titanic sink because of an optical illusion? They'll never end, do they? They never end. Just adding in more nonsense and more nonsense, so that you to dig out the truth, you have to spend your life wiping the manure that they've tipped on everything off it. 7 famous people who missed the Titanic is one of their other links. If you don't know about the people who missed the Titanic, JP Morgan, the owner of the liner, didn't turn up at the last minute, said he was ill, which was proven to be false by reporters who saw him in the south of France with his mistress at that time. You have to wonder if he didn't think something was going to happen. You have to look at also the people who died on the Titanic. You have to look at the fact that Guggenheim, Strauss, and Astor were on the Titanic. And why, if they were the richest men in the world, didn't they get off the Titanic? You would think that they would have been first off as being the most important passengers there. Would they really have stuck the third-class passengers into the lifeboats? I very much doubt that. So it's something very odd about the fact that they never got off that boat. And you can find more information about that story actually at our main website, NSASlovakia.com. Just the link to the story is the biggest insurance fraud in history. So the article here is full steam ahead. 7 famous passengers who missed the Titanic. They didn't miss it, they were informed. There was about 50 first-class passengers that didn't actually get on the boat. And it was only 2/3 full as well, so some people knew what was going on. And all of the original crew who sailed it from Dublin to, I think it was Southampton, not Dublin, from Ireland, wherever it was built in Ireland, to Southampton. Only one of them stayed on the ship. The others refused to get back on it. They knew something was going on. So who were the people that missed it? Yeah, it says here, oh, the captains of industry went down with the ship. Not only that, I mean, Astor was supporting Tesla, and there was the international banker struggle to create the Federal Reserve at the time. And also popular American mystery writer Jacques Futrell, is that right? The American painter and sculptor Francis Millet, Major Archibald Butt, friend and aide to then President William Howard Taft, were lost as well. People who didn't turn up, people who were informed, people with the inside line. Theodore Dreiser, the novelist, he was at sea on another boat when he heard of the problem. I wonder if he had family somewhere. Oh God, I just hate these websites where you have to click a link to get the next part of the story. I wonder if they're just getting themselves further up the rankings by doing that. Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian inventor, wireless telegraph pioneer, winner of the 1909 Nobel Prize in Physics, was offered free passages, but decided to take the Lusitania 3 days earlier. His company was later grilled by the Senate committee over allegations that his company's wireless operators had withheld news from the public. He emerged from the disaster as one of its heroes, his invention credited with saving lives. Interesting, interesting. All these people with inside lines. I'm trying to do this within 30 minutes, so I've got 4 minutes left according to the clock here. We got Milton Snavely Hershey, the man behind the Hershey's milk chocolate bar, famous for Americans, not known by anyone else anywhere in the world, as with lots of American stuff. Hershey paid a deposit, but didn't travel. He and his wife caught a ship sailing earlier. There we go. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Oh, JP Morgan. Well, we can just skip over him. He obviously had inside knowledge of what was going on. Too much has been said of the Great Baron. Henry Clay Frick, Pittsburgh steel baron, fellow passenger of JP Morgan, who also did not get on the ship. Wife sprained her ankle. Oh, like that's going to stop you getting on a ship. That's ridiculous. Alfred Gwyn Vanderbilt. That name's familiar. 34-year-old multi-millionaire sportsman, heir to the Vanderbilt shipping and railroad empire, cancelled his passage on the Titanic so late that some early newspaper accounts listed him as being dead. Got the information at the last minute, or was scared, maybe trying to inform people. Oh, who knows? Who knows? He was thankful he wasn't on that ship anyway. John R. Mott, less well known today, influential evangelist, shared the Nobel Peace Prize later in 1946. Was offered a place on the Titanic, but didn't take it. I guess you could thank the Lord for that, mate. And it goes on to have original newspaper articles here, which might be of interest to any historians. And then a list of people that were supposed to be on the return trip. Right. Anyway, that's under Smithsonian mag.com. The article is called Full Steam Ahead, a roundup of all things Titanic. But then they still don't give you the real story. They're trying to cover up a few things they're not. And not just cover up, send you in the wrong direction as well, which is another great tactic that they use. Not just wrong information, but disinformation and misinformation for all the repeaters out there. Remember, what goes in is what comes out. So you want to put in there facts from history. You want to study hard, get that knowledge so that you can work out for yourself with discernment what's going on out there. That's the articles from today. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.